Hello, my friends. It was an interesting day, which makes a good day as far as I'm concerned. No tiny moments for the day. I didn't think about taking pictures today. I guess I wasn't in the camera mood. It was a beautiful day. There were probably good pictures to be had. I'll rely on these pictures today. I wanted to tell you about something that I did today. I'm going to share a little bit of my experience of it here, but I plan on doing a vlog about it. I went to the start of a 3-part series at church on the subject of what comes next. Each of the sessions is going to focus on some completely different aspect of what comes next. We're very lucky that one of the members of our church is a retired professor of philosophy and comparative religions, and something which I'm forgetting the right words for, that something like the fertility of ideas. Imagine taking a class. I actually spoke to someone who had taken his class. It was at Johns Hopkins, and it wasn't about, there was in a way no point to the class. It was to create a fertile ground for the consideration of ideas. And I really liked how it ended up coming out in this first of the 3-part presentation on what comes next. Today's presentation was on something, the abbreviation of which was new to me, NDP. And a lot of you are probably saying, Annie, that's near-death experience. Well, I'd heard that phrase, but I'd never heard NDP used in reference to it before. And it was interesting. The first half hour or so was a presentation by the person who was hosting this for us on biologic and scientific studies and studies in the medical community of those who have claimed to have had, sometimes even witnessed by the scientist or the physician, near-death experiences. For instance, someone who had an out-of-body experience in the process of having brain surgery, when it's verifiable in a very strict medical way that there was no brain activity, but the person moved out of their body and watched their body being operated on and could later tell the physician everything the physician did from every perspective in the room. So the fellow who was conducting this for us wanted to present to us the studies that have been done in a respectful way. And I don't mean to sound like the stories that we hear, the non-verifiable stories that we hear, are somehow not to be taken seriously. But it's hard to catalog and compare one to the other. And he introduced us to several institutions and medical groups which are in the process of doing serious studies of what this might be, both from the way the brain fires as it is shutting down before we die, and a similarity of experiences of folks who hold to a certain pattern of hallucination, of seeing a bright light, of hearing a certain noise, and it's shared by countless people, many of whom, as the brain recovers and literally begins to come back to life, withdraw from that. So some of this was very, not dry, but scientifically stated as not a near-death experience or an out-of-body experience, but a powerful biological experience of how the brain works. But the interesting thing is, studies are now, in all of the communities that are doing serious studies on this, leaning more towards, well, that just doesn't always explain it. So it was very interesting, the presentation that he gave us. But after the presentation, he opened the floor up for discussion. Well, at first I was thinking, I wasted the drive out here because we only had a half an hour of presentation and there's an hour left of this session. And my experience of this kind of thing often is in mixed groups, and there were, I'd say there was 100 people there. I'd say our church was maybe 2/3 full. And I think it holds about 150 or so comfortably. You can hold more than that uncomfortably. And I'm thinking, oh great, I drove all the way out here. The half-hour presentation was interesting, and now he's thrown it out to the audience and we're all going to sit here and stare at him. Well, I kind of underestimated the audience. Almost all senior citizens, because this was held during the day, so younger people who are working weren't able to attend this. He put it out to us to share personal experiences or experiences we could verify, meaning if it was we were telling someone else's story, how do we know the person and what made us believe what they were saying was not just their truth, but a truth. And there were so many people that entered into the discussion. It was a very interesting discussion. We had 2 retired hospice nurses. We had a psychologist who specializes in grief counseling, and God is blessed, he just unexpectedly lost his 26-year-old granddaughter to a stroke, a massive, sudden end of life. And these weren't people who were part of the formal presentation. They were just some of the people who were in the audience. We had an ex-nun who attended the dying back in the early days of AIDS, when especially young men were dying right and left. So there were a lot of people who had direct experiences of death through their careers, through what they've devoted their working lives to. And then there were a lot of us who have experienced being with loved ones at the time of their passing. I kind of fall into that category, having been present at several deaths of loved ones. And the things that people were sharing that they had experienced or that they knew of as verifiable truth. You know the phrase unverifiable personal gnosis? Well, let's just say we were exploring the things that felt like verifiable personal gnosis. That they happened to someone and it wasn't only their truth, but in their sharing how it had been for them. And as we shared some things that had been for us, that the truth became a communal truth, a verifiable truth in a way. The commonality amongst our discussions is, can't really explain this by anything in the logical part of my world or my relationship to life and death. But here's what happened. There was a willingness to leave it over to mystery, leave it over to beauty, and not to be frightened by the unexplainable in some of these instances, but to actually feel comforted by it. It was a really, really fascinating conversation. And like I said, I had my own things to share, and I'll mention that in the video I'm going to do on the topic. The interweaving of death and what of our out-of-body experiences or our astral experiences really amount to being small dyings, with a returning being part of the experience of them. It was really, really well worth spending an hour and a half at church on a beautiful day when I would love to have been outside. My takeaways from that, well, I started writing and I kept writing in the process of being there, and then when I got home and sat on the porch for a while and just lived with the things I'd heard people talk about, my own experience and how it kind of fell into that. And it gave you a lot to think about, and all of it was very, very comforting in view of those I have loved and lost, and in view of, well, the fact that I'm closer to my passing than I am to my birth at this point in my life. Really a good opportunity to sit at the feet of an awful lot of wisdom, an awful lot of life experience. It's kind of like what I mentioned the other day about in the women's group here in our neighborhood. The collection of who we are and the wisdom we hold is pretty darn amazing. And this collection of experiences was immense. And I think the thing that moved me the most, when you get a group of Unitarian Universalists together, we don't have the same concept, person to person, of what the divine might be, or even if the divine is. But we do have a sense of mystery as part of the wonder, the curiosity, and the great excitement of living. An acceptance, a welcoming of the things which cannot be explained. And it was just great to be in a room full of folks who, like me, first are very powerfully connected to personal gnosis, not believing something is because someone else has said it, but instead searching for a personal experience of it, creation of our own truth. Sometimes inspired by what someone else has experienced or said or done. But the beauty of being in a room of what felt today, especially like a lot of people just like me, who love to explore the sense of wonder and mystery and the things that we'll never really know, and all finding comfort in the fact that we'll never really know. Oh, it could be said at the moment of our true death and passing, when we're no longer part of this world, we'll know. Some of us actually said we're looking forward to that moment to experience it, having spent a good part of our lifetime exploring what might be when it comes to the end of our biological, physical, maybe even energetic existence. Awesome experience. It's not because of the information shared and the experiences shared, as being in a room of 100 or so people. And with every single one of them, I had a commonality, which is comfort in and being comforted by that we don't know. And we don't have to know. It's really all I have for today. An hour and a half of discussion, wonderful people, another hour of journeying about it, journaling, and yes, journeying. And then some thoughts that I think I'm going to share in a topic video on my channel here. I do think when we see some of the things that have been happening in our community, the general pagan community on YouTube recently, we've gotten away from personal sharing, the search for what we have in common with each other and being inspired by the differences in each other. I don't know about you, but that's why I'm part of this community. And also talking about not what we do or what we've been told or what we purchase, mind you. A lot of my videos, topic videos, have been, here's what I do. And a lot of the videos I've enjoyed watching have been folks sharing their witchy hauls and things like that. But when that is what the community is about, a presentation of things, without the presentation of belief or energetic inspiration or emotions behind that. I used to see that a lot more when I first came onto YouTube. Folks just didn't tell us what they do, but they shared a lot about why they do it. And at that time, I have to admit, we've had these swings up and down over time. At that time, I wasn't seeing judgment and elitism and immaturity, social immaturity, as part of what was going on. It was a sharing of what we do, why we do it, and what we believe in, with no expectation that the next person would have an alignment to each one of those things that was identical. And part of the fun, part of the mystery, was finding out where we did do, believe, or feel in relationship to our spiritual experience that was shared, and being inspired by someone else's relationship to their journey, which was different than ours. Honestly, I think we're lacking that in our community at present. I wonder if the runaway train recently of immature behavior has been in part because we've created an environment of being individual talking heads that are not in search of connection. It doesn't concern me in the big picture. I've seen the communities in the time that I've been online go through periods of deep connection and learning from each other, and then chaos and separation and, well, devolving into very poor social interaction. I've seen it go up and down and up and down. I have a feeling this will go up and down again and come back to a place that's more healthy for the community in general. It doesn't bother me in a way. What's bothered me is the loss of some friends that I will miss them because they're not going to make videos, because they don't feel they want to be part of the community. I didn't see so much of that kind of dropout when we've had this kind of swing before. So the fact that it's happening now does concern me. Because when the pendulum swings again, I think it's important that we've stayed in touch, that we've been there for each other, that we have found within whatever is going on around us in the moment. And it does feel a bit of a maelstrom at present, that within that we've found those that we have a lot in common with, or those who inspire us because we are different, or that we feel mutual respect. Because no matter what's happening right now, that it's creating a poor social environment for many of us, there are far more of us that are here to share out of a place of love and respect and are looking forward to receiving that. I don't know how I drifted off onto that. Oh, because when our community posts become more about, here's the things I bought recently, here's my wall of tarot cards, or here's my bookshelves and bookshelves of books or herbs, here's what I do in my practice, and if you don't do it this way, well, we can't have much in common. When that kind of thing starts happening, it's happened before, it's going to happen again. We lose connection, and we lose cherishing within the community, even at times like this, where the possibilities for deep connection are. When you see somebody that you love and respect turn off comments on videos because of the perception that they are being constantly attacked. When you see people you care about who've withdrawn from the community altogether, we're all the lesser for that. This is a strange world we connect in, friends. I think one of the reasons I was thinking about this today, about the difficulty of sharing what you believe and not wanting it to come from a place that this is what anyone else necessarily should believe. The challenge of that can be what we post becomes a litany, basically, of the same thing over and over again, and the quality of communication goes away. And I think that's one of the things that drew me to experiment with vlogging, was getting that back to a place where I felt truly present to my channel, and I would know that the people who were watching the vlogs were those who were truly present to community. There's no reason to watch a vlog if you aren't interested in human connection, person to person. When we give up the ethereal, when we give up mystery and sharing our relationship to mystery, and we give up what we believe and what we've struggled with, in a way we give up our humanity, and we become a talking head on social media. So I didn't get a lot of other stuff done today because it's been a day that just took me into a lot of considerations. It's been interesting. And when I say a day has been interesting, that means, my friends, it's been a very good day.